Welcome back one and all, my name is Eltimar and we are going to be continuing our Let's Play of Torment, Tides in Numenera. Where we left off last time, we were in the mutant-controlled area of the Bloom. It is also known as Little Nilish, whatever. Let's go talk to One Door, because that's an awesome name. As you approach this bulk of stone and fur, it starts to move, becoming less of an inanimate object and more of a man. Before you stands a giant figure with a beard so thick it looks like sculpted granite, but when you see his gentle eyes, a tangible wave of peace watches over you. "I'm happy to see you, Adden," he speaks carefully, as though every word is a step upon icy ground. "You have been gone too long." "I am not the man that you think I am." Gentle confusion crinkles the mutant's stony brow, making a sound like boulders shifting against one another. "It is me, Adden," he says slowly. "Wonder, perhaps it has been too long. Perhaps you do not remember me." His shoulders sag as he says this. "I'm sorry that I made you unhappy." "Do not be sorry," he says with a gentle sigh. "You must help many people. It was foolish to think you would remember me." "Why have you returned, Adden? Can I help you in any way? How are you, Wonder?" "Better than before," he says shyly. "Better than before we met. And then there was sadness in me, rage and sadness, fed by my many thoughts. But you found the stranger inside me and took it out." He spreads his rocky palms. "Since that day I have felt peace." "Who was the stranger you mentioned?" "I do not know," he says, shaking his head back and forth 4 deliberate times. "But it entered my head in the accident. It was heavy, like a golden stone. It made my thoughts faster, but sharper. They made me sad. They made me angry." The warmth of his smile ripples across his face. "But you told me you could help. You took out the device, took away the dangerous thoughts, leaving me calm." Simple joy fills his eyes. "You said you had more use for thoughts than I did." "What accident?" "I don't remember. The stranger held the memories and the pain, and the stranger is gone." Gratitude warms his face. "You took it." "What were the thoughts?" "They are hard for me to remember now," he says carefully, "but it was my voice. You should not have left them," it said. "They are gone because of you," it said. "You must learn from this," it said. He shifts uneasily. "But when I tried to learn from the thoughts, they increased, they shouted. They would not leave me alone." "How'd you find peace?" "So we lobotomized somebody. That's not cool." Ein Tozon. A stunning man in formidable garb greets you with arms wide open. His golden eyes stir strange, unbidden feelings within you. "Oh my. My friend," he says, spreading his arms. "Welcome. I am Ein Tozon." The sound of his deep, rumbling voice makes you think of a waterfall at the rise of the morning sun. Beatific and profound. It makes you feel drunk. Then you see Rin taking a step back, putting you partially between her and the man. She cocks her head to the side, still wary but curious. "Do you know this man, Rin?"
I know you're busy, but could we talk?
"No," she sounds certain, but her expression suggests she's still mulling it over. "Now what can I do for you?" he says with a puzzled glance at her. "Are you trying to hypnotize me?" "No, not trying. Trying requires effort, and the effect is quite beyond my control," he says with a slight, genuine smile. "The effect is caused by my passion for studying the web of connections between people, even separated by words or..." He pauses, smile fading. "Death. Even in death, connections persist." His humor continues fading. He seems thinner now, frailer, less human. His voice is dry, papery, an ancient thing. "My studies took me all over this world, and it lands beyond the stars before I finally came to the Bloom. Here my hunger took on a more literal meaning." With careful hands he opens his clothing, exposing a maw, one of the Bloom's sentient mouths. You sense otherness beyond it, a gateway to a place beyond this one. "I told you that my studies changed when I came to the Bloom," he says. One of the maw's tentacles winds around his wrist. "This is how. A maw claimed me. Now we both feed, quite harmlessly, mind you, on the connections between people. I understand the sensation can be quite pleasant." The tentacle slips reluctantly from his arm. "If you wish to feed us, bring a close friend to visit us. We will be here waiting." I don't really want to feed anybody to him. Well, I mean, I kind of wanted to, but maybe not yet.
Of course we can
Crimper,
help.
who are you?
Right, Al?
This filthy old man is dressed in a motley of rags, arranged artfully to emphasize the inhuman reach of his needle-like fingers and the 2 protruding humps on his back, as if mutations are a source of pride. He wears smoked goggles on his forehead, parked above his transparent eyelids and his noseless face. His teeth are small, even, and shining white. He shows them often as he smiles to himself. His pockets are filled with trinkets and baubles that he has picked from piles of trash. He raises his head and says, what over here? Who comes to disturb, old crimper? Have you come to search through this bounty with me? You're welcome to share. He looks at you keenly. Share, ya hear? What are you doing here? He lowers his head and grumbles. Hey, what's the look I'm doing? I dig, and I answer questions for fools. Not everything in a trash heap is trash, but wastrels abound. Why waste? Why waste indeed? He combs through a mound of trash with uncanny speed and precision. Found anything valuable? His tone instantly softens, looking almost pleased. Oh yeah, people lose all kinds of treasures in the trash. He sits back and pushes up his goggles. Unexploded detonations, blocks of metal, used to spark and steam with nanospirit swarms, a marble with a cloud of insects inside, half-used healing injectors. He beams a Colostrian Asvale even. That brought me many shins. What's the best you found here? It was this. He fumbles around in his pockets, slapping at his shapeless rags, before he reaches a hidden stash and pulls something out. It's an ugly vomit-green cylinder made of some organic material, about half the size of a forearm, covered in knots and whorls and tendrils. It looks like it might still be alive. Found this a year ago. It was buried near Gartoko's tank, and I would have missed it if I hadn't wriggled. Listen. He squeezes it and sets it down. The thing begins to sing in a slow, discordant tone. The device shivers and rolls around on the ground, hooting and piping through tiny mouths in its tendrils and whorls, and then issues a melancholy belch. The mouths close, the thing ceases its movement and sound. He titters a bit. I laugh every time. I had to shed blood for this one. Yeah, some human thought to take it from me. He drops it into one of his outer pockets. Any other treasures you found here? You mean the Colostrian Asvale? Most your age don't catch such things. It was a simple sonic emitter, but it had the power to twist thoughts and change perceptions. Yeah. And once I found a vial of spraying energy armor, he frowns. By the tomb I knew what it was. The light of the breastplate had melted away and the vial was empty. He brightens again, but treasures, such treasure. Seems like it has lots of trash. This is the midden for the bloom, to be sure. We've crossed through many chambers and cavities, and none of them have this kind of refuse. We mutants do not make such much mess, and new piles of garbage appear daily. So much work. Let's try and steal the music box. We have an assassin that's good for that. As Crimper looks away, you dip your fingers into the wide pocket where he dropped the music box. Your fingers close around something wet, and it grunts just a bit as you snatch it free. You snatch the musical log away before he looks back at you. One sec, guys. Excuse me. Sorry about that. This mic doesn't have a cutoff switch anywhere on it, so it's kind of annoying. Tried to hit the mute button, but that did not work in time. I was racked by coughs, so I hope that wasn't too loud. I moved my mouth away, so... Anyways. Yeah, child. You asked plenty of questions about the refuse and the hidden treasures here, but not so much about finding treasures of your own. Have you ever dreamed of picking your future from the ground? I can show you. Oh, yes. Teach away. Good, good. The first position in your hands should be on your hands. A trash picker needs some gloves or skin like synth. Stone, glass, and ordure combine in these piles. And, like as not, some sharps will pierce your skin. You want none of that fluid in your core, child, or you'll end up like Crimper here, or poor Vrung. Not right between the ears. He continues in that vein for a time, leading you to various trash piles. This one, picked clean. See how the pile is strewn, and behold, a pile of last resort. You want those relatively undisturbed. You spend some time looking at newer piles, and you're rewarded with the pleasure of sifting through some organic goop and chemical-scented tailings. But eventually you find something that might be useful, and you pocket it. Now over here, yeah, others hit the pile quick, but not deep. You want to go deeper than the surface, yeah, but you need to go fast and careful. He shows you how to dig through the large pile, quickly and safely, maneuvering through jagged chunks of broken synth, shattered strong glass, and splintered wood. At the end, you find an interesting piece, and you take that too. Yeah, you learn quickly. You have a true gift. Come back and share some time with me, child. Having paid careful attention to Crimper's lessons, you feel that you can now locate other treasures in the trash of Little Nilly-ish. Let's try here. I like trash-ish. Dig into the trash. We found a broken Lascar helm. Cool. Let's see what it does. First of all, there's all that stuff we just picked up. We have an Ancient Spirit Cube, which is an oddity to sell. Everlit, which is also an oddity to sell. Where did that helmet go? Is it a quest item? It is a quest item. You examine the helm more closely. It gleams underneath the crusted filth. Worked with a skill unmatched in this age, its crest seems to contain a number of dark black cells that catch and hold the light. Fine traceries in the cells look as though they might gather or disperse energies. It looks as if you could fit it on your head. Let's look inside of it first. The dark and padded interior has some faintly glowing nodules and soft synth fibers, but no visible eye slits or breathing apparatus. More importantly, the helm has been collecting rotting garbage and debris for what looks like decades, and as you scoop out the sodden mass, you discover fragmented bone, possibly that of a previous owner. You clean the helm as best you can. A closer examination of the interior suggests that it connects with its wearer through eye movement tracking. Once it synchronizes with the eye movement, the helm's internal circuitry develops a neural connection with its user. You suspect that it might also store past users' experiences and observations. Let's jam it on our heads. This helmet was clearly custom designed for a specific person's head, but you can fit it around your skull with some fierce tugging. The odor of decomposition fills your nostrils as well as the accumulated filth of the Bloom trash. It is pitch black in the helmet. No eye slits or breathing apparatus are immediately apparent to you, but after a few seconds, a small light begins to blink in the corner of your visual field. As your eye automatically flickers to it, the helmet's air clears, degassing the foul stench, and you can feel the air circulating from hidden pumps inside the headpiece. Several unfamiliar symbols light up on the right side of your visual field. Most are dim, but one symbol shines brightly. If you had to guess, the dim symbols mark functions that are unavailable at this time. Look at the bright one then. A grid of smaller images appears. The bloom, pictures of a starry night sky, and images of various people. Let's check the bloom. Among the many images here, you see several that depict places you have been, though their particulars have changed since these images were captured. You suspect that years have passed. The first image is of a vast interior chamber, its pathways and tendrils sprawling across the empty spaces. You see foul gases curling from the depths, and rows of shops, upwardly built homes, and caravans pulled by Anine traversing the strands. The courtyard outside of the Memavira's fortress seems subtly different, and you look at it for a moment before two observations strike you. First, the uniforms of the guards are quite different from those who serve the current Memavira. You also notice that this image was taken from where the Catina's wreckage sits now. The area still looks as dingy and dangerous, but the lack of the Catina makes the space seem more open and less oppressed. The next image is of the bloom, seen from a path descending from Sagitt's cliffs. Though you already have some sense of its immensity, its massive bulk momentarily takes your breath away. Wedged into the cliff, or the cleft between the two massive escarpments, the bloom is both wide and long, with taut and massive tendrils anchored to the rock face. It looks as if the creature is dragging itself towards the inland sea, very, very slowly. The final image in this collection depicts little Nilish, but not as you know it. Most of the people you see are ordinary humans. Garkota's great tank is nowhere to be seen. The piles of trash are smaller, and the ancient stone buildings still serve as habitations. Though an aura of squalor and disrepair taints the place, you can almost smell the garbage. It seems almost idyllic in comparison to the current reality. These images must be at least a decade old. Let's look at the night sky. When you look at the first image, it expands outward again, showing you a vast grid of other sights. Clearly, the owner of the helm took great care in recording the images of the ninth world sky. Either she loved the stars desperately, or she was collecting these shots to cross-reference with some other collection.
Making a note.
I found something, the helm's former owner says. Must be certain. Must return to the anchorage and compare new data with the navigational cortex's archives. Let's see the people. The pulsing moist walls of the bloom form the backdrop of all these images, so your guess is that the helm's original owner met with each of these people during their visit here. You see Dracogen's tall form looming over smaller men. Dracogen's smile is sharp and fierce, and the threat implicit in the way he holds himself tells you that he is about to exact some punishment on his quaking client. The final image is that of three human men. One of them holds aloft a jagged piece of strong glass, its end bloodied. The owner of this helm holds up a hand to ward off another blow. Blood gouts in the air. Let's put the helmet away. Alright, so Rin wants to talk to us. Apparently. She looks as though she's about to say something, then shuts her mouth. This happens 3 times before she gives up. Did you want to talk to me about something? Yes. No. She covers her mouth with her hand. Never mind. You're acting strangely around Ain Tazan. Why? I don't know. I would remember if I'd seen him before, wouldn't I? If I'd been in this terrible place. She shakes her head. But maybe we should see what he can do, just in case.
Of course we can help. Right, Al?
Does Rin want to be fed to the maw? Is that what we're doing? Alright. Ain Tazan closes his eyes and concentrates. A silky heat fills the air. You feel comfortable, lazy, happy. He holds one hand before him, centered on your chest. Then his fingers move over to Eritis. Whoops. Past your shoulder to Matkina. A wide smile consumes his face. Declare a name and I will feed. What about me? I have strong feelings towards him. Unfortunately not. I mean no offense, but my studies require subjects above a certain age. Eritis. Good, he says, rubbing his hands together with a rasping sound. A pleasant, insidious warmth streams towards you, lacing every vein with pleasure. Tell me, he says, turning to Eritis. Tell me how you met. Eritis speaks, but you can't focus on his words. You feel the heat of his regard for you diminishing, but find it momentarily hard to care. Through the thunderous pulses of pleasure, you see tentacles spilling from within Ain Tizan's clothing, a maw opening. Rin pierces the portal, and the world beyond it. She slumps. Following her gaze, you find Ain Tizan staring at her in return, a curious expression on his face. A pale, translucent figure steps out from whatever world lies on the other side. He turns this way and that, perhaps attempting to get his bearings. Seeing Ain Tizan and his maw directly behind him, he scampers off to the side to create some personal space. On finally noticing you, he gives a cheery wave. Ain Tizan conceals the maw once more and gives you a tremulous smile. Your companion falls silent with a puzzled expression. What is that thing? This pale, ghostly figure wears outlandish clothes and a horned helm. Opaque, tangled scars form an unfamiliar weapon loop. Or from an unfamiliar weapon loop. What? Hang on, let's try this again. Opaque, tangled scars. No, I think it's form an unfamiliar weapon loop and curl over his transparent body. Yeah, let's go with that one. Oh, he says, tilting his head. Have you found my brother yet? We've never met before. Of course we have, he says, holding the large helmet in place. Oh right, this is the first time we met, isn't it? He straightens, holding out his hand formally. Hello, I'm Khwarizmian, and I've been traveling through time looking for my brother for millions of years. Nice to meet you. I'm gonna shake his hand anyways. Your hand slips right through his, and he punches the air in delight. You almost never fall for that. That'll keep me going for at least another 100 years of time, so you try not to shake my hand. He catches your eye and shrugs. The motion makes his helmet slip forward again. Hey, I've been doing this a long time. You find entertainment when you can. At any rate, let me know if you see my brother, huh? What's your brother look like anyways? Well, sort of like me, minus the helmet, he says, thinking. And he's from a world long ago, so I might be wearing... He pauses. Oh, right. I do this every time we meet. It's just that I usually go centuries between running into you, and I always forget that you can't possibly have seen him. He winks, but there's a touch of sorrow in it. Still, let me know if you see him, huh? How many times have we spoken? Good question, he says, consulting an invisible mental list just above your head. Thousands, I'd say. Always a pleasure, mind you, though I don't know why we keep running into each other. I don't see anyone else more than once. He squints. If I had to guess, it's your relationship with the tides. But I don't mind. It's like seeing a familiar face. What's the helmet about anyway? So glad you asked, he says, and he looks at it. I love this story. He centers the helmet on his head. I ended up on this battlefield once. It was, well, it hadn't gone well for the side wearing these helmets. I walked up to this blackened hill, following the shouting, and I saw. It was probably a city once, but it was on fire and covered in black flames. He shakes his head. The helmet doesn't move with him. There were just two fighters left, the big man wearing this helmet and her. She was huge and made of screaming shadows and that same black fire. And when the warrior charged at her, roaring, she just touched him. She touched him, and he fell over, twitching and burning. He looks up at you. One of these times, you told me that she was called the Sorrow. Since this is the first time we met, I'm guessing you have some questions for me. The Sorrow destroyed a city? A big one, around the size of 3 Sagises and a bloom, he says, but the people of the city were abusing the tides in some way. From what you told me about the Sorrow, that sort of thing makes her really unhappy. He straightens the helmet again. But I didn't think they deserved to vanish despite whatever they'd done, so I took the helmet off the warrior when he, stopped melting a bit. Now I carry it with me to remind me of them. Where's your brother again? A world long before this one, he says. Millions of years probably, maybe more than that, but I'll see him again eventually. What are those scars from? Scars, he says, looking down? Oh, those look painful. No idea. Have to say I'm glad I don't remember, though. Hold on, are you a ghost? I like to think so, he says, shrugging, but I don't really remember dying, just the traveling and searching. And you think this helmet wouldn't keep moving around if I was, spectral. He flashes a grin. On the other hand, I seem to remember promising my brother I'd haunt him when I died, so that's some evidence for the other side. You came out of that maw. Are you connected to the bloom? To the what? He looks around. Oh, no, I'm not. I just sort of, let's call it swim between places. Following currents, Someone pulled a plug and here I am. You know about the tides? Of course I do, he says, then raises a wary finger. Sorry, forgot. First time I know. He yawns. They pull me from place to place like normal tides do. It's why I keep seeing different times and places and never stop in any one place for long. Tides don't rest, and neither do I. He yawns again, even wider. It's a little tiring sometimes, or at least I think I'm tired, which is probably the same thing. Hey, he says, focusing on you, can you actually sense the tides flowing through me? No. Well, let's fix that, he says, cracking his ghostly knuckles. Before you can react, he thrusts all 5 fingers through your chest. The feeling isn't unpleasant. In fact, you feel the tides surging through his arm, through you, and you see them curving back over your shoulders and back through him, binding you together. There, he says, it should be easier for you to sense the tides now. Just remember that she's out there, flowing around with the tides. Doesn't seem to make her mad. Abusing them? I don't recommend it. What did you do to me again? I made it easier for you to sense and control the tides in other people. Don't worry about paying me. My pockets won't work. Okay, bye. That was interesting. And Tizon doesn't welcome you with his rolling golden words this time. He merely nods in greeting, still a touch of that hypnotic calm rolls over you. You recognize Rin, don't you? I believe I do, he says, turning to Rin. You came through me, didn't you, my dear? She frowns. What do you mean I came through you? That sounds gross. You emerged from another world while I was feeding on the dying love between a married couple. He beams at her. I don't know why you ran off, he says with a frown. I would have been happy to help you find your way home after I'd finished eating. She pales, looking with a little horror at his clothes and the maw underneath. I don't... Her eyes widen as understanding dawns. I do remember. You were there, weren't you? But I was so afraid. I was running from something. She grabs your arm. She's obviously trying to control her emotions, but she bounces on the balls of her feet, and the corners of her mouth curl and uncurl in an irrepressible grin. This is it, she whispers. My way home. What do I need to do to send Rin home? My maw does not open whenever I will it, he says, patting his chest fondly. It requires sustenance. The bands of love and hate that bind us. Bring me someone who feels strongly for you, and we will secure a path home for the little one. Alright. Tizon closes his eyes and raises his hand. After a quiet, silent moment, he lets it fall again. I thank you, but no, this will require a different flavor. You'll need to find somebody else, someone who harbors more powerful emotions for you, but hasn't spent a great deal of time around you. I mean, we could get some people. Who has strong feelings for me but hasn't been around me a lot? Well, I mean, like any of our other companions,
Are we
so...
ready to go? I thought the inside of my mouth was strange. For this place, it's like being inside my mouth. Well, it's inside another mouth.
What's strange about the inside of your mouth? All mouths are strange, fleshy bits flapping and squishing beneath exposed bones. He pauses in mid-shudder, thinking, although my mouth doesn't have anyone walking around in it, in comparison to this place, anything's normal. He beams, thank you. My mouth no longer makes me nervous. We have to part for now. I can contact you if I need to. I also have to get rid of Makina.
Ask your questions.
Okay, so we got rid of our 2 people. I'm going to grab 2 of our other people and see if either of them will work. Let's go with Tiber.
Deadly little thing, isn't it?
And Algern.
Ready
Actually,
to
maybe
test this
Calistage
out.
would be a better idea. Ah, we'll try one of these 2. Neither of those people are apparently good enough. Okay, let's get rid of them. We'll try Calistage. She'll be the last one we try. I guess we did. He paces over a small patch of ground as though caged. I knew he was here, and that he was looking for me. I should have. He trails off and pulls the ring Dracogen gave him from his pocket. He cradles it in his palm and meets your eyes. Heartbeat, he says. They work by skin contact. See if I knew he was. He bites his lip and closes his fingers over the ring. Dracogen had the right of it, he says through his teeth. Vigna and I were closer than close. The world stomped on us, but we survived it together, carried each other through the wars and harder times. He looks away from you. We were arms of the same body, but with different minds. Too different, as it turned out. He takes a deep, shaking breath. I loved him. He says simply, we have to find him. I have to find him. Can't you just see him? Right, he says, with a trembling laugh. You don't know what you're asking. Back in the good days, it would be like holding hands, wrapping your finger around theirs, right? But with their thoughts and feelings inside, instead of flesh and bone. He shakes his head. I need to concentrate. For 1 and 2, not welcome there anymore. He made that clear, and I don't know that I disagree. We'll find him. Thank you, he says, nodding. I just want to talk to him, set a few things right, if that's still possible. He swallows and slips the ringtone onto his finger. I need you to go for now. Let's also get rid of Aligarn. We'll try once more with Calistish, although I highly doubt that we can do it with her, but we'll see. Goodbye, Aligarn. If not, we're gonna have to try and find somebody that will let us do this quest. So let's grab Matt Calistish, I guess.
This should be useful. My thanks.
What's the button made of? A sword and tiny swords. That must be Aligarn. Or Iridis, sorry, yeah.
Strange.
Okay.
An idea is occurring to me.
Nope. I guess I can't send Calistish to her death. She's tier. Oh, they level up automatically. Well, that's kind of fancy. Alright. Anyways, let's send her back.
Shall we?
No, we shall.
Well then, farewell. For now. You won't be gone long.
Okay, well, we're going to end the video here. I'm not really sure who we're going to sacrifice, but we're out of time pretty much anyways. So, we're going to grab our other character back. And that's going to be it. Like always, if you have any suggestions or comments, please leave them below. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video. I'll do another one tonight, so there'll be 2 tonight. And of course, we'll be doing our Antharian tomorrow, most likely. We'll see, but probably. Hey, maybe not. Hang on, we're going to do one more thing
Let's
before
go
we
off. You and me.
end this video. We're going to go scouting this treasure here. Fleetfoot moss and some junk. Okay, that's the Memavira's courtyard.
ready.
Okay. Different. I thought that was the part of the Katina. Never mind. I'm kind of tempted just to go run around and grab all these loots before we do anything else of note. You know what? We have like 3 minutes left. Let's do that. See if we can find anything cool.
I'm there, in the shadows.
Yes.
Do we still have more interacting to do with this particular garbage pile? We'll go check it out.
Of course.
On the bright side, we have unlimited sleeping now, thanks to the lovely lady we helped. Oh, that's it. Okay. Anything else that we noticed that we can put our hands on for now? No? Nothing really. There's a maw there. That's creepy looking. Okay, that's going to be it for now though. Like always, if you have any suggestions or comments, please leave them below. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time. Take care.